Alright, this video is to help us practice for the quiz. This will be sections 5.1 through 5.4, which covers basic polynomial terminology and up through the different kinds of dividing, synthetic and long division. Alright, so classify by the degree and the number of terms. It's a third degree polynomial, which means it's cubic. And it has a bunch of terms, so we just say it's a polynomial. If it has three or less, we give them the names trinomial, binomial, monomial, but if it's a bunch of them, we just call it a polynomial. In behavior, negative and odd, so it's going to do some curvy stuff. It's going to be up on the left and down on the right. Then we're supposed to find the relative mins and maxes. I type this into the calculator. And there it's typed in. Here's the graph of it. I adjusted the window some, so I went left and right 10, but I went up and down 15 to see it better. And there's the graph, and you do left, right, guess to see the max and the min under the calculate menu. So second, calculate, you choose minimum, left, right, guess, do the same process again for maximum. So here's the answers you should find to two decimal places. The maximum is at 0.26 and 10.39. And let's see that on the graph. Yeah, it's a little bit past and up 10-ish. And then the minimum is at 3.73 and negative 10.39. And that is, oh, it's pretty symmetrical, isn't it? But it's just shifted over, so it goes up and down this, and it's not always that way. It just happens to be in this case. All right, so we're going to do interval of increase and decrease. It's decreasing, and we relate that to the x value. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cross out the y values. So in between x is negative 1 and 3, that's when it's going up. So between negative 1 and 3, that's the way we write in between, it's going up, so it's increasing on this interval and decreasing on the other two intervals. So it's decreasing here, decreasing here. Where's my green highlighter? My green highlighter is right there. So it is increasing in this interval here, which I just already labeled. So it's increasing on that interval, decreasing on the outsides. So how do we write the outsides? Well, everything smaller than negative 1. So I write x is less than negative 1, and then everything bigger than 3. That's where it's decreasing. All right, page 2. Page 2 is factoring. There's two factoring problems here, and I insist that you take out the GCF first. This GCF, there's a number in common and x, so we take out 3x first. Then we write down what's left over when we divide out 3x. There's no 3 anymore, but there is an x squared. About a 9, right? 9 times 3 is 27, and 1x, x times x is x squared. And then 14, 3 times 14 is 42, plus 14. No x anymore because the x is right there. Then this factors a second time, x and x. 2 and 7 will make the 9 in the middle, so it's minus 2, minus 7. And the whole purpose of factoring is so we can set our factors equal to 0. This one has a x cubed in common, so I take out x cubed, no number in common, and I'm left with 2 x's here and just the number 16 there. So this times this makes this times this makes that. Then it factors a second time. We recognize this guy here is the difference of two perfect squares. So it's plus 4 and x minus 4, and the middles cancel out, making no x there. All right, now we're going to start doing some Klammer-Clause business. So this guy here sits out. This is in factored form. I'm going to multiply this all out to get it into standard form. So I write down x plus 2. Then I start multiplying this out. FOIL. This times this. This times this. That times that. And this times this. Drop this down. Those go together. Okay, now I start doing the Klammer-Clause. So, looks like Christmas, right? So I'm going to do x times these three things. This is going to look more like a watermelon instead of Christmas. and then negative 2 times these three things. And that will finish out the problem. So are we ready? Y equals, and I think I'll just go ahead and do the colors because it looks pretty good on the screen. With pink first, this times this is x cubed. This times this is plus x squared. That times that is minus 20x. Now the green would be this times this is 2x squared. This times this is 2x. And that times that is negative 40, negative 4d. Now I put the like terms together. The x cubed is all alone. The x's squareds go together, so there'd be 3 of those. The x's match up, so negative 2 or negative 20 and positive 2 is negative 18. And the 40 is all by itself, so it drops down. All right. The next one is the same process, except for we have to change these into a form that looks like this over here. So if I add the 2 over, I get x plus 2. If I subtract the 5 over, I get x minus 5. If I subtract the 7 over, I get x minus 7. And I'm going to take this now and make it be in standard form. So y equals, I'm not going to do all the colors this time to save time. And I'm going to skip a step of foiling because I can foil pretty fast. This times this is x squared. That times that's negative 7. And that would be negative 5. Negative 7 and negative 5 make negative 12x. That times that is 35. All right, correct so far. Now I'm going to take x times each one of these. So I get x cubed minus 12x squared plus 35x. Now 2 times each one of these, so I'm just doubling. 24x and 70. Now I put together my like terms. I get x cubed, squareds go together. 10 of those, negative. The x's go together. 35 minus 24 is 11. And then 70. All right. So there's the answer to that one. Next question is an easy question. It says find the zeros of the function. So we find the zeros of the function by setting each factor equal to 0. So I do 0 product proper super t. So x plus 2 is equal to 0. X minus 11 is equal to 0. X plus 8 is equal to 0. Subtract 2. X is equal to negative 2. Add 11. And subtract 8. So those are the 3 answers we get on that guy. But it's already factored, so you just set each factor equal to 0. Now I'm going to factor these two and set the factors equal to 0. So I got x squared and x squared. 4 and 4? No. 8 and 2. Minus 2 minus 8. Equals 0. Now I do 0 product proper t because those don't factor anymore. These are quadratics, but they're missing the middle term, so I can just add the 2 over, add the 8 over, and take the square root of each side. When you take the square root of something squared, don't forget the plus and minus. Plus or minus the square root of 8. Now 8 is actually equal to this plus or minus the square root of 4 square root of 2. So x is equal to plus or minus 2 radical 2. That's actually the best answer, but I won't harm you too bad if you leave it like plus or minus the square root of 8. All right, now we're going to rewrite this so it looks like the sum of 2 cubes. Something cubed is actually x, and then 9 times 9 times 9. So if I type in the calculator 9 times 9 times 9, 9 times 9 times 9, I do get 729. So 9 cubed is 729. So 9 is what's being cubed here. That helps me identify what A is. A is x. A is not A. Well, A is A, but A is x. I never do retakes on my videos because I would never make a video if I had to do retakes because I make mistakes all the time. So I'm going to plug those into the formula here. So it's x plus 9 and then x squared minus 9x plus 81, because 9 is being squared there. A times b is 9x, and then a squared is x squared, and then those two. Okay, now we do zero product proper t. X plus 9 is equal to 0. X squared plus 9x plus 81 is equal to 0. Then I always make the joke where, hey, I'll solve this side, guys. And negative 9 is one solution. Now the other two solutions come from this quadratic, which unfortunately doesn't factor. So A is 1, B is negative 9, and C is 81. I choose to solve this with the quadratic formula. So I have x is equal to negative b, that's already negative, so it's 9 plus or minus square root. 2a is just 2. B squared would be negative 9 squared minus 4a is 1. C is 81. Okay, so we can put that in the calculator, figure it out by hand, whatever we need to do, and it is plus or minus the square root of negative 243 over 2. 243 has 81 living inside of it, so it's negative 1, or 81, and 3. So this times this times this is equal to that. 81 is the perfect square that lives inside of there. So x is equal to 9 plus or minus. The square root of 81 is 9, so it's 9i radical 3 over 2. All right. All right, long division. Last page here. Long division. So we put the x minus 3 on the outside here, and we do x squared plus 8x minus 33. I choose x. X times x makes x squared. X times this makes minus 3x. I pick up the red pen because I'm going to subtract, which means I'm going to add this. And I get 11x and then minus 33. I pick out 11. 11 times x is 11x. 11 times this is negative 33. I pick up the red pen because I'm going to subtract, which means I'm going to add this. I get a remainder of 0. So there's my answer, x plus 11. Okay, synthetic division. Step 1, change the sign. 1, negative 3, 6, and negative 8. We drop the 1 down, we multiply, we add these two together, we multiply, we add these two together, we multiply, and we get a remainder of 0. Then we know that this is the remainder, this is the number, this is the x, this is the x squared. So the answer is 1x squared minus 1x plus 4. Ta-da! Whole quiz, 13 minutes. Well, there you go.